Empower reports a 315-fold increase in connected capacity. Johnson Controls launches thermal reference designs for gigawatt-scale AI data centers. Tabreed posts 2.46 billion UAE dirhams in revenues for the 2025 financial year. ASHRAE announces nominees for its 26-27 leadership slate. And the ISHRAE UAE subchapter hosts the second Middle East Engineering Recognition Awards in Dubai. My name is Surendra Balakrishnan, and you're watching the first ever edition of On Air, where we present news, views, and commentary on the global HVACR and allied sectors. On Air is the online broadcast platform of CPI Industry, publishers of Climate Control Middle East magazine. We bring this channel to you with a solemn promise of adherence to age-old journalistic principles of merit-based, unbiased, and balanced reporting of HVACR-related news and views that are relevant and supportive of global socio-economic and sustainable development goals. And now, the news in detail. Dubai UAE headquartered district cooling utility company Empower said it has increased its connected capacity from approximately 5,400 refrigeration tons in 2004 to 1.7 million refrigeration tons by the end of 2025. That represents a 315-fold increase. The company said the growth reflects strategic expansion and investment in advanced technologies supporting Dubai's urban development. Empower also highlighted its Business Bay district cooling project, described as the largest of its kind globally. His Excellency Ahmed bin Shafar, the CEO of Empower, said the expansion aligns with sustainability and net zero ambitions. Milwaukee, Wisconsin headquartered Johnson Controls launched a reference design guide series for 1 gigawatt AI data centers. The guides map full thermal chains for water-cooled, air-cooled, and absorption chiller applications. The US-based company said the designs prioritize energy efficiency, zero water consumption through dry coolers, and alignment with NVIDIA DSX architecture. Abu Dhabi UAE headquartered district cooling utility company Tabreed reported 2.46 billion UAE dirhams in revenues and a net profit of 465 million UAE dirhams for the 2025 financial year. The company said connected capacity increased 19% year-on-year to 1.57 million refrigeration tons. The company completed the acquisition of PAL Cooling in partnership with CVC DIF. It also issued a $700 million green sukuk and doubled its green revolving credit facility to 1.2 billion UAE dirhams. Tabreed said it is entering 2026 with a strong and stable core business. Atlanta, Georgia headquartered ASHRAE, the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, announced nominees for its 2026-2027 leadership slate. Ashish Rakeja, managing partner of Aon Integrated Building Design Consultants, was nominated as president-elect for the 2026-27 society year. Sarah Maston, director Colliers Projects Leaders, will serve as president. Members will vote electronically in the month of May. The UAE subchapter of ISHRAE, the Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, conducted the second edition of the Middle East Engineering Recognition Awards on February 14th in Dubai. The awards, commonly referred to as MEERA, celebrate excellence in engineering in the HVACR and related industries. And that concludes the news for this edition. And now, moving on to our views segment. EU Regulation 2024/573, more commonly known as the F-gas regulation, significantly tightens the rules governing fluorinated greenhouse gases or F-gases and requires system operators to take action. A key element of the regulation is a so-called phase-down. This mechanism will gradually reduce the available quantities of HFCs to zero by the year 2050. For industrial companies, this already has implications. From a legal perspective, existing systems containing F-gases may continue to be operated and serviced. However, The phase down is leading to increasing scarcity of service refrigerants such as R134A and R407C. This inevitably results in rising prices and potential supply bottlenecks. As a result, reliable life cycle cost planning for existing installations becomes more difficult. Maintenance and servicing costs for legacy systems are therefore turning into a volatile cost factor. I earlier spoke to Markus Lattner, the managing director of Eurovent Middle East, and here is what he had to say. Markus, what are you seeing on the ground in Europe in terms of market reaction? Are rising prices and supply bottlenecks having the desired effect of bringing down the consumption of HFCs, or has this created an opportunity for trans-border smuggling?
Yes, hello, Surendra, and thank you for reaching out. What we have witnessed in Europe, for sure, tells a good story. The F-gas regulation was first introduced in 2014 with the phase down commencing in 2016. And we immediately could see a spike of the prices up to almost 900% of the most frequent service refrigerants in the market. There was a slump afterwards. The prices have went down significantly again in the years between 2020 and 2022. But in the recent years, from 2023 onwards, we could see that the prices were rising back to these exorbitant levels. There is a slight difference, however, for end user prices and distributor prices. So the prices along the supply chain are significantly higher. I think that the end user prices had a margin built in where the retailers could cover some of the increases. However, these price developments definitely are a concern for this region, and this has to be kept in mind because we will see a similar curve and a similar increase in prices also in the GCC once the phase down starts. Why the price have spiked so high and then dropped down may be attributed to the fact that people started stockpiling on those refrigerants which became more and more scarce over the years when the phase down commences, and also with an increased system of reclamation in the market. But now we with the 2024 revision of the F-gas regulation, where the European Union decided to speed up the phase down even more than what was actually required from the Kigali Amendment. This is clearly a sign that now it's getting really difficult to get your hands on those refrigerants and for a good price.
And has this created an opportunity for trans-border smuggling, you would say, or how was it in 2014 and how is it now?
We are hearing a lot of stories that counterfeit refrigerants are entering the market, but it is a big issue. And of course, the price levels make it extremely attractive to deal in counterfeits. But what is happening in Europe is also that the industry is very proactive. So once the European Commission was talking about the refrigerant transition and stipulated its plans to phase down HFCs, you could see a rush in the market to switch towards alternative refrigerants, be it flammable or not flammable, be it fluorinated or non-fluorinated. And this has definitely helped in Europe to keep the overall problems under control. This is something we have to take into account here in the Middle East. That the Middle East market is not proactive; it's reactive. So the people only change or adapt once they are forced to do that, and that of course becomes a legacy and a liability for the installed systems we have in this region.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you spoke about flammable and non-flammable refrigerant. So, in fact, that was my next question. So, how much has the regulation triggered the adoption of, say, HFOs and natural refrigerants in Europe, in other parts of the world also?
I would say a lot. So Europe is definitely determined to switch over towards non-fluorinated gases. There are still issues with the viability of some of the refrigerants options which we have for larger installations. But the path, I would say, is clear. We are seeing more and more products coming to the market, heat pumps which are using. I think you've even come across plans for CO2 heat pumps in the future. So the industry is reactive on that. That it can be applied in large scale on these markets will take, of course, its times, and we will have to see what will happen on the PFAS side. PFAS permanent chemicals, artificial permanent chemicals, which may pose a health risk, and the European Commission is doing studies on how to deal with such PFAS. Unfortunately, HFOs are gases which apparently also contain a lot of these PFAS, and there are now differing, conflicting messages at play. Personally, I don't think that we will see a PFAS regulation which would cover refrigerants. I think that this is not yet the right time to do that. There are different opinions in the market on this, but given the current economic situation and global trade problems we are seeing, I think it's not the time now to put another restraint on the industry. However, it's clear that in Europe that the industry already sensed this and tries to avoid future problems with PFAS by switching over to to non-fluorinated gases.
Okay. Of course, I've heard you on PFAS, and just to keep things balanced, we hope to invite manufacturers of HFOs to the show later on. So that's something that we would be doing. My next question is, so what lessons can the rest of the world learn from the implementation of the F-gas regulation in Europe? Is there anything that would lessen the pain of transition, for instance?
Yeah, so first and foremost, it is always decent for an industry to look ahead, to look into the future. Only when you do that, you have the time to react to market trends ahead of the time, so that you are not falling behind what's happening. So one of the lessons learned is the sooner the industry starts a transition, the easier and smoother it will go. That will also include necessarily, especially in the region, the need for qualification of technicians, that we train our people in terms of refrigerant management, reclamation and recuperation, that we actively recycle the refrigerants which are already installed and not lose them through venting and leakages. And it will require also a better management of I would say qualifications, education, and safety standards along the supply chain. We have, as an industry, we need to work together. We need to ensure that we have a harmonized regulatory landscape surrounding the application of alternative refrigerants. And it needs to be ensured that we do not put liabilities on people who are the weakest in the chain. So we need to make sure that we be careful in providing services and products which are safe, but are also handled, installed, and maintained by people who understand how to keep them safe.
Okay, so key takeaways from this question would be harmonization of regulation and training. That was Markus Lattner, the Managing Director of Eurovent Middle East. We will continue this dialogue on refrigerants in future editions of On Air. This edition's commentary focuses on indoor environmental quality and fertility. Climate Control Middle East magazine is currently pioneering an editorial campaign examining the correlation between indoor environmental quality and reproductive health. Polluted air may be chipping away at women's ability to have children. That is not a headline crafted for drama. It references scientific research. According to a report published in nature.com, a team of researchers in Poland studied 511 women who were visiting fertility clinics. The researchers compared their reproductive health parameters with levels of air pollution in the areas where they lived. The pollutants examined included PM 2.5, primarily produced by vehicles, power plants, and industrial emissions, and sulfur dioxide, commonly associated with fossil fuel combustion. The findings were significant. Women exposed to higher levels of PM 2.5 and sulfur dioxide tended to have lower AMH levels and fewer antral follicles visible on ultrasound. AMH stands for anti-Mullerian hormone. AMH and AFC, which stands for antral follicle count, are established clinical markers used to measure ovarian reserve. In simple terms, the number of eggs a woman has remaining. The study suggested that polluted air may leave fewer eggs in the basket. Let me repeat that. Polluted air may leave fewer eggs in the basket. The researchers also highlighted a biological mechanism, oxidative stress, which is a form of internal rusting where harmful particles trigger inflammation and cellular injury. The ovaries, it appears, do not respond well to chronic pollutant exposure. From that point of view, indoor environmental quality is not a luxury. It may be a determinant of reproductive health. You cannot see 2.5 in a room. You cannot hear oxidative stress in a duct system. But you can measure it and perhaps prevent it. Clean air may not just be about comfort. It may be about continuity of families, of generations, of hope. I will leave you with that thought, for that is all we have time in this edition of On Air. Thank you for watching.